Yo, YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to the Jonathan Hassinger channel. I, of course, am your host, John Hassinger, for this out-of-theater reaction to Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and the great Willem Dafoe. It has shades of Frankenstein, Edward Scissorhands, Pinocchio, The Wizard of Oz. Big-time Wizard of Oz, just in a completely more R-rated themes. All right, before the spoilers. Emma Stone, the hype is real. At first, it's really off-putting and somewhat annoying. And it's also in black and white, which I wasn't expecting. Mark Ruffalo shows up, they run away. Willem Dafoe is kind of like this mad scientist. Here's another weird thing about this movie. I don't know when it takes place. It's not in any real time. It's not in the past, it's not in the future, but it's not in the present. It's in some alternate universe. Because technology is like crisscrossing with fashion in a way that makes no sense. So that was really fun, because anything can kind of happen. Like, there were moments that were very sci-fi about this movie. Willem Dafoe, like I said, he's like this scientist, not a mad scientist, maybe a little mad. They have a goat body with a chicken's head. They have a chicken body with a bulldog head, and then another chicken body with a pig head. The sets, just beautiful. Some of the shots were, I don't know. I don't know if they were half digital, half real, and then they just went through a million different filtering options on Instagram because color was, smoke was different colors. Like, if they were on a ship, the smoke color was different. It wasn't black. It was like green or yellow or purple. It was weird, but cool. And really fascinating, and a lot of times out of nowhere. The score, again, Emma Stone, the black and white, the score in the beginning was irritating. It was annoying. I was like, all right, come on, hurry up. And I knew, and this is what happened, when Mark Ruffalo shows up, the story kind of gets going. And everything changes. All those annoyances kind of changed. That annoying score just fit perfectly to the point where you didn't notice it, but then in the third act, you really notice it because the story starts to get pretty crazy and interesting. Ruffalo was great. Emma Stone, it's one of those things where when actors say they were so brave, and they just sound so pretentious. But the shit she does in this movie, it's hard, it takes balls. You have to be kind of ballsy to just do it and put yourself out there. And she crushes it. And the character's so neat, and the writing is just so refreshing. I know Oppenheimer's kind of like the sexy pick for the Oscar wins, but Poor Things really does something unique and award-winning, I think. All right, so we'll get into spoilers. Emma Stone's character is a pregnant mother who jumps off a cliff into the water, commits suicide. Willem Dafoe's character finds her, the mad scientist finds her floating, recovers her, takes out the baby, takes the baby's brain, takes the mom's brain out, puts the baby's brain in the mom's head, reanimates her. I love that word. It's just kind of like magic. It's like reanimate. So they basically sync the brain and the body, and she starts developing. So that's the first 20 minutes. It's the brain and the body are trying to match up because it's Emma Stone's body with a 4-year-old's brain. And when Mark Ruffalo shows up, because he's helping with this marriage contract, because Willem Dafoe wants to marry her to another scientist to kind of keep her put. But she gets a smell of outside, she can't let it go. So Mark Ruffalo shows up and is like, why am I approving this contract to basically keep a woman trapped? So he's like, I gotta see who she is. So he falls in love with her. Well, he's smitten with her, and they run away together, and he takes her to Lisbon, and they bang like crazy. It's amazing. So it's like, the brain is sunk up with the body, but it's still sort of young, so it's immature, but it's like, just sex is amazing. Like, this is the greatest thing. Like, she discovers, masturbation kind of by accident, or I think she wakes up out of like a dream, like a wet dream, and then she kind of like uses an apple on herself, and she like tells the maid, she's like, I found how to do a whenever I want happy. Like that, the writing is so unique, I'm telling you. Yeah, I've never heard some of the, and the great thing is, because she's still sort of like this brand new person, but like her brain like is evolving real fast and like catching up to the age of the body, that it like evaluates things real quick, and like there's no like bullshit, like there's no clutter in her like evaluation of things. Like she's like, your behavior's just making me feel upset, so I'm just gonna like leave you. Like she's very direct, and Emma Stone's delivery is just so good. She disappears into this role, but there's like a fine kind of like granule amount still of Emma Stone that everybody loves in the delivery of these direct lines, when she's just like, wait, I can have sex for money? Like I can have sex and then get money for it. Like that sounds ideal for my situation right now. She's like, because I'm broke. Mark Ruffalo's character like won all this money at the casinos, and she gave it away to all these poor people. But when she was trying to give it away to the poor people, there were these like sailors like undocking the boat, and they're like, where are you going? Like, we're leaving. And she's like, oh, well, I want to give this money to the poor people in the ditch. And he's like, oh, well, we're staying here, so we'll give it to them. And she just hands it over to them. So then they're poor. She ends up becoming a whore. It's like not like a prodigal son thing, but that's also part of the story. I mean, it's obviously coming of age, because she goes from like retarded to a very intellectual person, and very understanding, and very like she becomes so empathetic, because she kind of experiences life and all the parts of life real quickly, because she just leaves and she just goes and experiences, and that's the best way to learn. And she ends up back at home with Willem Dafoe, kind of taking over his lab and helping people, saving people. And but then there's this other twist at the end where Ruffalo shows back up with Emma Stone, the original woman who committed suicide, her husband. So he like doesn't know what's going on. He's like, you left, I thought you died, I was empty inside, and now you're coming back. And she's like, yeah, okay. Because she was about to finally come back and marry that original scientist that that Willem Dafoe had originally set her up with. But she's like, no, I'm gonna go with him. And at first I was like, what? And then I'm like, oh, she just wants to know. She just wants to go see, like, why did this body try to kill itself? And she finds out right away, her husband is this like psycho, controlling, gun wielding, impotent man boy. So she figures that out, and then she leaves, but like she knows he's going to try to stop him. So she throws what she knows is a glass of chloroform. She throws it right in his mouth, and pushes his arm down at the same time, so he shoots himself in the foot, and then he passes out. And then they save him, and then she kind of like goes on and lives happily ever after with a bunch of the people that she met along the way throughout the movie that didn't wrong her. This is how I felt after I watched Natalie Portman's performance in May, December. If Emma Stone wins an Oscar, I will not be shocked. If Mark Ruffalo wins, I will not be shocked. But there are other people out there who gave equal performances. But yeah, it's one of those movies, really great movie. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought. If you haven't, let me know if you were on the fence. I definitely recommend it. It's a little over 2 hours and 25 minutes. There are some parts where you're like, all right, I get it, but this needs, like, of course, the middle, but they pay off. It all pays off. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week. I gotta go.